We already have one question from the former governor of the Central Bank of Iceland. But let me make clear to the rest of the audience, you don't have to be a previous governor of a central bank to ask a question. No.
There is only one like that in the room anyhow. So. Yeah. But thank you very much for this overview, and there's clearly a good story to be told here, and you told us a part of it. But my question relates more to what Scott Minot said here. If I heard correctly, that the investment needs over the next 20 to 30 years in the Arctic is of the order of $1 trillion. And then you talked about all the challenges that you face when you are assessing whether to invest or not. But my question is, what in your mind, and that's probably through the others as well, are the main challenges in raising that amount? Do you think that the story is good enough that this will be a piece of cake? Or what are the challenges that we face, and are there some things that we need to do with our financial systems in order to make this possible?
Maybe you'll pass the microphone just, Scott.
Yes, well, I mean, it's a great question because, as Hugh can attest, one of the biggest problems we have in the Arctic is taking a vision that people have and translating it into a profitable investment. There's a number of things. I always like to talk about the need for ports, especially in the North American region, because of the continued growth in maritime activity, and then of course the opportunity with shipping. As an example, the distance between Seoul and the port of Newark on the east coast of the United States is 15,000 kilometers if you go through the Panama Canal. But it's 6,000 kilometers if you pass through the Northwest Passage, right? That is too tempting an opportunity for shipping in these countries to ignore. The issue is that we don't have, I've visited many cities in Alaska who would like to build a deep water port, but a deep water port in the Alaska, which would be necessary because we don't have a single deep water port north of the Arctic Circle in North America, is just one piece of a bigger equation. And so, what would help a lot is if we had some coordination among basically the users of this and the governments in the region to help us to get investments into a bankable position. And I think that the Arctic Economic Council could play a very important role here. We had a meeting yesterday where we discussed these ideas, but I think that is really the biggest challenge to taking the necessary steps, which, by the way, let me just say one thing. Not just necessary steps to invest money, but in necessary steps to protect the Arctic from exploitation. Because once we have a disaster in the Northwest Passage, there is no search and rescue. There's nothing there. And so we could have a really tragic disaster which could be harmful to the environment or a large loss of life. And we really do need to get coordinated on these bigger issues.
Yes, my name is Stefan Peterson. A question for Hugh and Benedikt even. From our discussions over the last 2 days, I'm gathering that there is no lack of eligible projects in the Arctic region. We know there is certainly no lack of capital in the world. So I guess the issue in some ways is structuring an intermediation between the projects and the capital. So the question is really, is there enough structuring capability working in the region? And obviously for Arion Bank, is there anything prohibiting Arion Bank carving a niche for itself in this business?
Great question. You and I had a sidebar on this yesterday, and I appreciate the precursor. It gave me some time to think about it. The way I described it in our session yesterday was that the way I look at it, the capital is there, and I would call that the hardware in this. The opportunities are there, and I'd call that the software, and in the middle, there is a huge gap, and I believe that's why PT has been as successful as we've been, is because we provide that middleware. That being said, we're one company with so much talent, and I believe that there needs to be an investment into organically growing good projects, getting the support system behind that. For instance, let's just look at Iceland. Iceland has 3 national banks. I believe last time I counted something like 7 investment banks here. I think you've got something like, 15 private equity funds. You have a NASDAQ. Your financial system here is advanced. You go back to Alaska. We are really the only private equity company in Alaska. Okay? All of our banks are banked out of the lower 48. It's what we call America. And we have a huge gap to be able to provide the work necessary to get those projects investable. And so that's really the challenge. I think it's one of the reasons we've actually been blessed to be such a partner in this society is because of the advanced nature of your financial systems, your banking, your advisors, all of that. I actually have to work much harder for deals back home than I feel like I have to do here in Iceland. So a huge gap needs to be filled, and that's only going to be with more capital invested, appropriately invested, returns back to investors, and then regenerative based off of that.
Benedikt, you want to add something to this? We soon have to draw this to a close, but
Yep.
yeah.
Just a short observation from myself. Thank you, Stefan, for the question. It's obviously banks are financial intermediaries, and our role is to kind of pair together good ideas and capital to support it. Like President Grímsson mentioned, we've just recently decided to kind of increase our focus on the kind of the whole Arctic region. We have exposures already in Faroe Islands, in Canada, in Alaska, and we will gradually, I think, develop our knowledge of the area. But I think like Scott mentioned, the Arctic Economic Council is a key kind of institution to gather or sort of make sure that this intermediation is done in a structured way. Where projects are identified and presented to investors.
One quick comment I would make.
And I will ask the minister to have the final comment.
Right. Just one quick question. What's interesting about the 3 of us sitting here is that, I mentioned it before, we're partners with each other. Guggenheim has had the privilege to be the cornerstone investor in PT Capital's first fund. You got to make sure the returns are up. Keep the word.
On top of it.
And of course, Benedikt has provided financing. And, I think people should not look at this as being owned by any one constituent, but only successful if we all get together and work on this together.
Great. So, Minister, you have the final word.
Yeah, thank you. Well, it's been fantastic listening to all of you and taking part in this event again. Let me just say that I will leave with the feeling that things are progressing faster than I envisioned just a few years back. I think the first times I came to the Arctic Circle, I found that we were talking almost about distant future, and repeated visits and listening to what you guys have been working on and others taking part in the event just bring forward the strong feeling that we are already, started, we are planning, we are looking at the opportunities, we are trying to make sure that we do it the right way, because you can't really go back once you messed up. The Arctic Economic Forum, the Council, also has had a great impact in laying those foundations on how to do it right from the outset. So I think just I want to share with you my feeling that we're on a good path. And for some, things are not moving as fast as we would have hoped for, but I think at the end of the day, it will lead to us doing it right.
Great.
Mr. President, could I just give kudos to Minister Benediktsson and the Icelandic government in the response to COVID. This country responded in a way that other countries could have learned a lot of lessons from. The support the government gave for the hospitality and the tourism sector, the ability to open early, allow the tourists to come in, outstanding. So your government has done an amazing job. Thank you.
Well, the Arctic Circle is always happy to provide a forum to praising the government, but but thank you all very much, and next year we will call you back to tell us how you have progressed on this endeavor. And if the Arctic Circle can help to facilitate the ongoing dialogue on how we move forward on Arctic finance and the structure for this, we will be pleased to do so. But I think it is important that we provide an open platform where you can share with us where you are at each time. And I agree with the Minister. Things have moved much faster than any one of us could have expected. So we are looking forward to getting a report next year of what has been done.
Great.
Thanks.